I like the future to be a little bit more uncertain, because time travel is nonsense and fake and impossible, okay? The Vulcan Science Directorate said you can't have time travel, so there. Okay? It's not real. I don't care what you show me. I don't care what you quantum date this little thing at. It doesn't matter. It's not real, okay? Check this out. It's a portable cloaking device. Pretty cool, right? With this thing right here, I can cloak, be invisible, and do whatever I want in this ship. No one can see me. Let's try it out. Aw, dang it. There's no one here. Hello, everybody. This is Prodigy Season 2, and we're reviewing the second to last 2 episodes. That is, if we're considering these reviews to include 2 episodes each, this is the penultimate review. And this is going to be a hard review for me to do, because once this review is over, I'm going to go immediately watch the last 2 episodes, and I'm pretty excited to see what happens. So it's going to be hard for me to finish this review and, momentarily distract myself from that. I'd really like to just go watch them now, but I can't because I'm dedicated to reviewing these episodes. This is episodes, 17 and 18? Yeah, that would be it. There's 20 episodes, 2 at the last. These are the second to the last 2 episodes. You know what I mean. This is 17 and 18. This is Brink and Touch of Grey. Yeah, it's not shades of grey. It's just a little touch of grey. Don't worry about it. I know if you read the word grey in your episode title, you might be thinking, hey, this could be like the best episode of TNG. Remember that one, Shades of Grey? Everyone's favorite episode? Wait, that was spelled with an A. This is spelled with an E. Oh. Don't worry, there's much more letters in the alphabet. Let's see what's going on with Brink and Touch of Grey. And I'm just going to be upfront with you here. These are not 2 different episodes. It's not like the racing one and that other one, the one with the tribble. They're the same episode. They're just cut in 2 arbitrarily. This is like more in keeping with other incarnations of New Trek. This is essentially an hour-long episode where they just cut it at some point, called 2 different episodes, and called it a day. Because we had to get, 20 episodes for this season. Or 10 if we're in a live-action series. I don't know what this is really about, why they decide these things, but that's how it worked out. So the demarcation point between these 2 episodes is going to be just ambiguous. So when I review it in that way, it's just going to seem like one flows into the other. One's definitely better than the other, but as for the point in which I switch to the other one, don't worry about it. I'm not worrying about it either. Brink begins when our characters are, catching up. They're saying what the audience needs to hear to get up to speed on what's going on. And that is, we need to go to Solum. We need to rescue Ilthuran. And what that entails is essentially the core of this 2-episode sequence. We're at our like round table. We're in the meeting room. I don't like Jellicoe's orders. I don't like Jellicoe's orders either, Catherine says, and everyone's listening, and Tysus is there, Noom, Catherine. I don't know why I keep calling her Catherine. Someone I know in real life very well. Their sister's name is Catherine, so I it's just like stuck in my brain. But Admiral Janeway, more accurately, doesn't like Jellicoe's orders either, but the truth is, we're going to Solum. And we're saving that Ilthuran guy. And Gwyn manages to, according to Noom, who let the kids at the adult table, Noom, as always, really sticking the knife in and twisting it a little bit, which is why he's awesome. Gwyn is at the adults table arguing with them because she is from Solum. And if anyone has the right to go to Solum to rescue Ilthuran and bargain for peace, it should be her, I guess. The doctor, EMH, kind of chimes in saying that's a good idea. It wouldn't directly violate Jellicoe's orders, and we wouldn't be breaking the Prime Directive because Gwyn is from Solum, or Avalna Kath, as it were. Interesting point, Doctor. even though I don't think the Prime Directive applies here, because the Prime Directive is clearly broken already. They know about space stuff. They know now, okay? It's more like we would be getting in less trouble with Starfleet. That's the more accurate thing, okay? Starfleet has to disavow actions taken on Solum, insofar as they concern saving Solum by saving Ilthuran and fixing this whole timeline stuff, okay? We've seen this before. You're going to have to do this covert. Starfleet can't back you here. I hope you understand. I understand. We've seen Star Trek before. Well, this is some Black Ops stuff. No one has to know or can know we're from Starfleet. So hide your comm badges and put them somewhere else. And our characters, just on cue for the end of this season, put on their old costumes. And I was a little bit nostalgic for it, to be honest with you. Our like earlier season 1 outfits, not the best outfits we had. The best outfits in my mind were the outfits our characters put on for A Moral Star Part 1 and 2. They were ace. I love those outfits. Those Protostar uniforms that with the white instead of gray. Man, I love them. And I know you know that I always thought that if you've been following this channel. They're almost my favorite uniform. I don't know. You may think different. You know what they say, beauty is in the eye of the beer holder. But you do you and I'll do me, and your mileage may vary, as I want to say, on that issue with the uniforms. And maybe it's time for another uniform tier list video. I don't know. It wouldn't be new Trek unless we introduce some new uniforms, right? Yeah, every single... Actually, it's an interesting idea. How many seasons of New Trek have not introduced a new uniform? There's something to think about. New uniforms are more common than the same uniforms, even though the word uni means universal or something, as in everyone's going to have the same one. I don't know. So all of our characters put on their old classic costumes, but Majel doesn't have a classic costume. But Majel puts on a very slick outfit. I really, really like Majel's costume in this. It was so cool, with like some kind of weird red triangle on it and a red triangle on the back, and it had this white and black and like blue color scheme. It was very cold, but it was very professional. And I'm not sure what outfit it was from. I'm not sure what outfit her outfit was from, but it didn't look Starfleet, but it looked in keeping with how you imagine someone would dress in Star Trek. And no, they didn't look like a couch. They didn't look like the shirt and pants combo of the week for Deep Space Nine in terms of Jake Sisko. In terms of looking like a bus, a public bus's seat cushion is what Jake looked like all the time. And I know that actually applies to multiple characters in Star Trek, but that's the one I like to pick on in terms of how dressing works. But this is not that. This is not a seat cushion on a public bus. This is futuristic, and it looks awesome. So our characters are all decked out how they have to look, and we cannot beam back to the Voyager, in a sense. We can't do back and forth beam from the Voyager. We have to carry this device that will, I guess, stealthily do a one-way site-to-site transfer of like us. So if we're holding this, 2 to beam up, site-to-site, we can go where we need to go as long as we're holding this. We're developing devices here. We're showing before we go down the tools that we have. That's good. You want to do that. You want the audience to know where we're at, what we're capable of, and what failure looks like. And we have this transport device that can beam us back up to the Voyager or wherever we need to go. Number one. But number two, this one's a little bit more hairy. And this speaks to the problem with the episode Brink in general, is that things just kind of feel a little bit like magic. It feels like we're inventing things to fix the problems that we're going to have. You want to use the technology you have to save the day. It's always better when ideas, tools, and strategies win the day, not technology you invented clearly to as a get out of jail free card. One thing we invent to go down to this planet, that being Solum, is a portable cloak. Right, we just hold it, and Murf does hold it, and Murf hugs it, and Murf has his new toy. But you press this button, and it has a cloaking dome over you, and a few other people that are around you. And I don't see why that's impossible in Star Trek, for Starfleet especially. But when you invent new technology like that to solve a problem, now you have to write every episode after this where they could use it. You have to remember that they can use it. Okay, so what that means is next time we have to do something like this, I'm going to be saying to myself, why don't they use that portable cloak generator? And it makes the characters look stupid. If you're smart enough to remember, they're stupid enough not to remember, which is bad. So you don't want to just kind of, if you're going to invent a new technology, write it down and keep using it. Yes, I know Star Trek has had this problem since the beginning. I know, but that is not an excuse. You don't want to keep doing it. It's not, having it happen before is not a good idea. It's not a good reason to do it now. These things they chip away little by little at the reality of Star Trek, as in one atom chips off its shoulder. And if you keep doing it, although it's only one atom, it builds up. And eventually, if you're going to be around for another 50 years, like Star Trek might, there won't be anything left. It won't make any sense anymore. We don't want that, do we? But we've already seen the weird little flute thing that fixes anything your mind thinks about in Picard. Oops. But that's not... The portable cloak is not nearly as bad as that. The thing that was capable of just doing anything. This is capable of cloaking you. And it is prone to error, which is good. New technologies should be prone to error. Unless it's otherwise explained in the story as this is some ancient Iconian device and we don't know how it works and blah blah blah. Something like that. If you've seen Star Trek, you know what I'm talking about. We have to beam down to Solum. Gwyn has been appointed commander of this mission, as it were. Janeway basically says, like, it's your responsibility now. Wink, wink. Like one of those things. Like, Janeway knows that this is going to be really hard, and her crew is, kind of misfits, but Gwyn's in control here, and they're down on the surface, and they're using their cloak dome, and I wasn't accounting for Majel to be here too, Rok-Tahk basically says. So they're barely fitting in this dome, and they're all huddled together, and antics ensue, slapstick ensues. They almost knock over a pot, they almost get caught a bunch of times, as you do if you're making a show like this. They do eventually intercept a message from Ilthuran. This message, I'm getting this communication. Oh, it's coming from here. It's coming from his observatory. Oh, it's just right there. Perfect. They go into it. Now, luckily, this is not a trap. If I were them, I would be very scared that this was a trap. Oh, I'm not supposed to be on this planet. We're spies, in a sense. And, there's this communication telling us to go here. I wonder. But we do go there, and luckily it turns out not to be a trap. We talk to the Drednok Unit, but this is a good Nok unit, the librarian one from earlier that Ilthuran had to run his little observatory place. Oh no, who sent this signal? Asencia? Oh wait, it's good Asencia. And this is cueing into a running plot motif. I don't really know if it's a theme with Prodigy in general, but in this episode specifically, in the last few, is we're meeting good versions of bad characters. You notice this? Cracked Mirror, we can ignore that. That's a one-off because Mirror Universe. And that's the inverse of it. But we're so used to having good characters that we see a bad version of. Recently, and in Prodigy in general, we meet bad characters, the Diviner, Asencia, Drednok, and now the stakes are higher, but we see the good versions of these people. This is pretty cool. I don't know if you noticed this or not, but bad Drednok was menacing us for the entire first season. Now we meet the good Drednok. He's a librarian, in a sense. Asencia is in this observatory. We thought we got caught by Asencia. No, it's good version of Asencia, who's actually fighting against bad Asencia. A future Asencia is bad. Current Asencia is good. And we also have Ilthuran, who is the good version of the Diviner. So we meet the bad, and then we get the good. You see, it's like a reverse Mirror Universe episode. We're going into a good mirror universe with these characters, in a sense, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if that's really what they were trying to do, but we meet duplicates of people, and I guess we also have duplicates of Janeway, except they're both good. Until it turns out bad, evil version hologram Janeway from that one part in season 1 is actually still there, and this was a ruse the entire time. And bad hologram Janeway with the different outfit is still on the protostar somehow. Oh my god! No, that's not going to happen. That would be incredible, but that's not going to happen. And we learn from Good Asencia all about this whole kind of resistance / uprising movement against Bad Asencia, and Bad Asencia is destroying this planet, and she's using time travel technology sucked out of the mind of the traveler, that being Wesley, we know that already, to design technological advances that should be impossible for their world. They're availing themselves of weaponry that they should not have, which is always bad in Star Trek. What are we going to do? We have to come up with a plan. Gwyn, you control this thing. Wherever you go, we'll follow. Dal basically says, and Gwyn comes up with the idea to send a certain amount of our characters to save Ilthuran from that prison train thing he's on, and a certain amount to go save Wesley. I'll save you the time of me explaining who's going on each mission, because I'm tired of explaining the Prodigy kids' names over and over and over and over and over again, and one of these times I'm going to get it wrong, and it's going to be embarrassing. I think I've already got it wrong a few times by now, and I'm just losing my mind with this. So let's just say we have Team A and we have Team B. Team A saves Ilthuran, Team B saves Wesley. We got to do it both. We're leaving nobody behind. Sounds good, but in practice, well, turns out saving Ilthuran turns out to be suspiciously easy. That's weird. When something this hard turns out to be suspiciously easy, I have to wonder, as you probably have done many times in your life, I thought this was going to be a lot harder. Now I'm scared. Now I don't want to see the marks I got in that test because it felt too easy. You know what I mean? Ilthuran is on this prison train, and basically what this amounts to is Majel just nerve pinches a guy. They walk into the train, and they walk out with Ilthuran. You know? Bing, bang, boom, say no more, say no more. Thank you, ma'am. And they're just gone. And they have Ilthuran. And Majel even comments that this was suspiciously easy. Saving Wesley, a little bit harder. Rok-Tahk and the gang, Team B, I guess we can call them, save Wesley, and this is easy too. They sneak into the facility where they're keeping him by menacing a single Valnakat guy with his cool origami helmet. I do love these Valnakat people. And they just kind of take him down. They sneak around the corner, do some martial arts on him, shoot him with the phaser, and then when more Valnakat come, they just kind of puppeteer him around, and Gwyn says some Valnakat stuff. I don't know what she says, but I'm sure it was funny. I'm sure if you understood the Valnakat language, this would be a real humdinger of a joke, but I don't understand it, so I don't know. Murf sneaks his body through a little hole to press a button to open the door, and it's all very amusing. It's impossible for Murf to do anything stupid. It's impossible for Murf to do anything that would make me think it was less than perfect. I'm very biased towards Murf, as you can tell, but we do get into this room. We do save Wesley. We take the shackle off his head that's controlling his mind. His mind is frazzled. He's lost his traveler powers. There is a crinkle in our plan. We were hoping that Wesley, could you please use your magic powers to save us? So Team A, you guys take the transporter thing, and we'll take Wesley, and he has traveler powers. Space-time thought, he'll just imagine us home. He's a wizard. Not anymore. His mind is frazzled. Good. Frankly, I like the Wesley without the time powers stuff a little bit more. He's back to the old Wesley that people hated and I liked. So maybe I'm wrong and I got it backwards now, and the old Wesley that's back is the stupid Wesley. And the new Wesley, the Traveler version, was cooler, and I was wrong on that. I so far I haven't really loved Traveler Wesley, but now that Wesley is back where we are, because he's lost his timey-wimey powers, now he's back, he's humbled, he's vulnerable. Now I'm more interested in Wesley. I don't know, maybe that's just me. But there's an issue. There's another issue. It's not just the fact that he lost his time travel powers and he can't just do magic tricks anymore. Another big issue is that he said, specifically before, that all of our characters had to stay together, including Majel. What I didn't get from him a few episodes ago was that he meant it literally. Did you think he meant it literally? Wesley, because you didn't tell us that we had to stay together in a literal sense, and Zero even says this, I thought you meant in spirit. No, Wesley meant it physically. I wish you could have made that a little bit more clear, Wesley. We're linear beings, unlike you. We need thoughts to make sense. We need A, B, C, D. We don't need D, C, Z, Y, A. You need to explain to us that we need to stay directly together. And because he didn't make it clear, we are now in a timeline where he doesn't know what's going to happen. You see, he knows how each timeline works out. And because of that, if there's any little change and the timeline is now altered on a different trajectory, he no longer can essentially tell the future, which is where we are now, which is how I like it. Because I like the future to be a little bit more uncertain, because time travel is nonsense and fake and impossible, okay? The Vulcan Science Directorate said you can't have time travel, so there. Okay? It's not real. I don't care what you show me. I don't care what you quantum date this little thing at. It doesn't matter. It's not real, okay? Paul was right. Anyway, there's a little something for people who've seen Enterprise. Now we're in a future that is not predictable, and Wesley is just Wesley, and that's how I like him. That's how I like Wesley. I don't need Traveler Wesley. I need regular Wesley back. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry, but regular Wesley makes me happy, and now we're back to normal, and we're caught though. As we have this conversation, we see Dal walk in, and I could tell the way Dal was walking that this is not a good walk. There's walking, and then there's marching. And I knew as soon as I saw Dal walk into the scene that they are marching. They are not walking. And it turns out there's Val and a cat marching them to their doom, along with Asencia. And Asencia is all impressed now because, look, I know I have Ilthuran here, and Wesley, and I know from your conversation that Starfleet's nowhere to be found, and Ilthuran starts some kind of uprising that I'm going to quash now. Now, all my eggs are in the same basket that I can throw over a cliff. And now Solum's future is mine. Ha 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 ha. I love Asencia, by the way. I love her voice. I love everyone's voice in this. I'd like to hear these people on like a 7-hour long tape read me the phone book, if that was possible. That'd be cool. But alas, we don't have that. So we have to suffice with these 2 seasons of Prodigy, and probably not a season 3, I'm not sure. But I love Asencia talking to me, and I love Asencia twirling her mustache and laying our characters out on a train track to be ran over by a train. Every scene she's in is great. I don't know, I love it. I like Simple, and Simple's fun, and the show is fun. But what now? This is the end of the road for our characters, but wait. Gwyn says, sometimes you have to make the hard call to Dal. And Dal, this is a Star Trek test of how much we know about each other. When we can do like little sub-vocal things like this and like that and like those things in Star Trek, and how much do we really know each other? Gwyn says, sometimes you gotta make the hard call. Dal understands that he's supposed to throw the transporter to Wesley. Wesley holds it, and they say 2 to beam up, and they beam up Wesley and Ilthuran into the Voyager. And I think, if I can remember correctly, that's where the episode Brink ends. And it only gets better from here, folks. Maybe I sold you a bill of goods on the first episode here that made it seem like it was better than it was. I didn't really like Brink that much, but it gets really cool from here, I must say. Now we're into Touch of Grey. Just a little touch of gray, that's all. It's no shades, it's just touching. It's a good touch, don't worry. Wesley and Ilthuran are on the bridge of the Voyager, and Janeway and Chakotay are standing there, and they're like, Wesley Crusher, what are you doing here? Wesley? And here we have the unexpected merging of Voyager and TNG, Wesley representing TNG, and Voyager being represented by its own captain, that being Admiral Janeway. Not really equal, but, take what we can get. After all, this is kind of like another episode of Voyager. Here's another episode of Voyager for you guys. There you go. Enjoy. I may have erroneously said earlier that we built a ship to fly down to Solum with our Voyager crew. I was wrong on that. That had nothing to do with the episode Brink. That was Touch of Grey. I got them confused because these episodes run together, and it's very hard for me to think linearly, especially when I'm secretly a traveler, right? We're in the vehicle replicator bay. We make this Valnacat-looking plane, and that's fine. And we take Doctor, Chakotay, Wesley, and Janeway on this ship on our away mission. And Janeway says, "Let's get back in the saddle." And it just did something for me. When Janeway said that, back in the saddle, I was like, oh man, here we go. We're back. Voyager's back somehow. Against all laws, against all reason, against all logic, Voyager has returned for another episode. Although Janeway doesn't take off her coat in this and reveal Action Janeway again, which is sad. But we did get that in Devourer of All Things Part 2, I think. That's neither here nor there. We're going down to this planet, and EMH, the Doctor, is like our ace in the hole here. We use him for all kinds of fun shenanigans on this planet, as you would with the Doctor, bringing less levity to an otherwise very tense situation. The Doctor's good at that, and he's good at it here, and he hasn't missed a beat since Voyager in terms of how good he is at doing this. He has to duplicate the voice of a Drednok unit when they're flying to Solum, and he accidentally says, we need to go with these units. And then the computer says, oh, that's where we're terminating the off-world alien intruders. And then EMH says, yeah, I know, it should be a real humdinger. A laugh out loud moment for me. And then he says, yeah, I'll save you a seat. This emotionless robot saying, should be a real humdinger. But they go through, I don't know, he smooths it over somehow, and they go to the surface of Solum, and our characters that we have to save now, to save them and save the timeline by putting the protostar back through the wormhole where it needs to go. Wesley reveals to us that Wesley got caught intentionally, as we see in this scene earlier, months ago, it says, where he was initially caught by Asencia. That was intentional. In my brain, I was wondering, how did Asencia catch Wesley when Wesley can see the future? That didn't really make sense to me. Now it does. Wesley did that intentionally. He got caught intentionally. Just like in modern shows. I got caught intentionally. You know how that constantly happens. Back in Star Trek Into Darkness, I think you got caught on purpose. Of course you did. What's the next step in his master plan? What's the next step in Wesley's master plan? He doesn't know because he's no longer having his traveler powers. But they did intentionally get caught because they need Asencia to get the wormhole technology. Asencia needs to know about the wormhole technology that I think the Infinity employed to get off of Solum. And that's why Asencia says, Gwyn used this power to get off this planet before. If they can harness it, we can too. And that's why Asencia is developing this wormhole tech. And that goes hand in hand with developing these vessels that can speed up time where you can develop technology really fast. Building in an excuse for why we can actually have a lot of ships in the final episode, which I can just tell is coming. Much better than having them come out of nowhere, right? Right? It's a good idea to set up that our enemy has the capacity to build a bunch of ships rather than having them appear out of nowhere, right? Yeah. Anyway, I'm just saying that stuff. I'm just putting it out there. But Wesley is accused of, you did this on purpose? Are you crazy? Well, no, not really. Wesley could just see the future. And many things look crazy until you can see the future. I don't know. Ask any traveler or ask a wormhole alien from Deep Space Nine. Take your pick. We have to go into this big dome where it looks like we're going to essentially execute our characters. Our characters, as in the Voyager crew, are stumbling along, trundling along on bumpy feet, complaining about their quads and their muscles. I normally just time travel where I need to go and whatever. This is so hard. I don't remember walking. and Janeway's having a hard time walking, and we're getting a little bit too old for this, you can tell. But insofar as respecting the classic characters, this absolutely just takes Picard Season 1 and Season 2 out to the woodshed and puts something in the back of their head. How, in terms of how you portray the classics. Back in the saddle, yes, they are. There's something creepy, though, in this dome. And the floor opens up, and I'm thinking, I heard some squealing from inside that hole in that dome, where Asencia has her characters trapped, and we're going to fight this thing gladiator style. And you know what I thought that thing was? A giant tribble from that one planet in this season. Imagine if it was a giant tribble. Dang. But that's not what happens. It's a loom. How did she catch a loom? There's a collar on its neck, similar to how Wesley had a collar on his neck. So Asencia has a technology to control characters who can otherwise control time and space. The Loom and Wesley. You can see how they're, opposites to each other, enemies, but both a part of the nature of the universe, to put it very simply. This character, our characters, have to fight this Loom. They don't really fight. They kind of just jump around and kind of evade it. And the Loom, I don't know if it's because it's sick or because it's mind controlled and its mind is frazzled. It can't seem to use Loom powers like the other Looms could before. But then when the collar comes off, it seems like the Loom still can't go through walls. How come the Loom can sometimes go through solid matter and other times can't? Is it because the solid matter we're referring to in this episode is somehow bolstered by Asencia's temporal weaponry? It's not really made clear to me. I'm not getting a clear picture of what the Loom can and can't do. I'm just not really getting it. Can they go through walls? Can they not? Is it because it's got the collar on? I don't know. If I don't know, kids ain't gonna know. So, you tell me. You feel free to scream at me. The Loom just end up being on... The idea of the Loom is very, very threatening. When they're on screen, I just don't care. I don't know. I'm more afraid of a Borg. But maybe that's just me. Janeway essentially offers her up to Asencia. Like, we're gonna trade Admiral Janeway for the lives of the Prodigy crew, the Protostar crew. And Janeway walks up. I have a lot of secrets that would be really helpful to you, Asencia. So maybe you should think about giving up those kids. And I'm throwing myself away. I thought this was a little bit dangerous. And I actually kind of believed it when Janeway was shot. Asencia phasered Janeway. I was like, whoa. Janeway, are we really dead? Not really. It's the EMH. And I clued into this especially when the EMH, that being dressed up as Janeway, fell over and then started poetically dictating its own death. Oh, I'm dying. And then silence. The theatrics. So good. Concentrated doctor from Voyager here. Doctor from Concentrate. And then we just put a little drop in our drink. We stir it up and we get one big flavored Doctor drink, which is what the Doctor, as he appears in Prodigy Season 2. And I'm definitely enjoying it. So yeah, Asencia has been tricked. And that wasn't the real Doctor. Wasn't the real Catherine Janeway, I should say. It was actually the Doctor, the hologram EMH. Meanwhile, while this is going on, Chakotay, the real Janeway, and Wesley are figuring out how to modify a comm badge, turn it into a bomb, to blow open the door to this dome. I would have rathered it was a phaser. I'm more used to overloading a phaser to blow up than a comm badge, but, whatever. I'll take what I can get. They blow open the door, and this momentarily interrupts the power supply for this dome, which deactivates the Loom's collar. I don't know if the Loom is more dangerous now or less dangerous. See, I'm not really sure. That's bad. A dangerous thing, a villain, an enemy, a monster, you want to know what you're dealing with. You want to know the stakes. And I just didn't really get the stakes, so I didn't really get the tension, so I wasn't really interested. Is it better to have the collar on or worse to have the collar on? I don't know. The Loom kind of gets away, but it still has to squeeze through a hole in the building. so it can't go through walls now, I guess. But the Loom gets away, and we can't beam back to our ship, so what do? Don't worry. Wesley has modified a tricorder, I believe, to turn into a little remote control to bring the ship to them. If we can't go to the ship, we'll bring the ship to us. Remember that ship we made in the replicator bay? Comes back, gets all our characters on board, and Asencia is now dealing with tons of revolts against her on the surface of this planet. The uprising is going off, probably with a hitch. We'll see what happens in the next 2 episodes. And Asencia is left wanting, and our characters are left winning. And that's how we like to see it. That's how we like to end it, and that was Brink and Touch of Grey. Our characters escape on this ship that they just replicated. They're back on the Voyager. Everything's hunky-dory. And Asencia is fuming. And now I'm officially a little bit scared of what Asencia is going to do, because when you put your enemy in a corner and you make it so they got nothing to lose, you've made it so you have everything to lose. And that could be, that could be it for you. If we don't win this, we're not sending the protostar back into that wormhole. We're not fixing the timeline, and we're going to eventually be consumed by the Loom. Although it should make an interesting holonovel. The EMH, by the way, got to meet hologram Janeway on the protostar, and it looked like they were really hitting it off. Fantastic doctor in these 2 episodes, I must say. If you like Voyager, you might really enjoy this. That was Brink and Touch of Grey, and I have to really focus on not saying Shades of Grey every time. This was a lot better than the Shades of Grey. You remember, this is Grey with an E, not with an A. Plot-wise, this was look, we have to go back to save Ilthuran, and we have to save Wesley. We go to Solum, we accomplish our goal. It's just a feel-good adventure. Where we began was we needed to rescue these 2 people, and then at the end we rescued them. Hard to complain there. And the moment-to-moment plot, it feels like it was relying on a lot of weird technology and magic, frankly, in Brink. But we really, in Touch of Grey, we really turn it around, and it really feels like strategy is winning the day, and thought and planning. And I enjoyed the second part of this, Touch of Grey, a lot more for that reason. Thematically, like I mentioned before, duplicates. We're seeing the bad version and the good version, and we're trying to say, what can we do to have the good version come out on top? Can we change things this time? We're in a timeline where things can be changed. We're in the past of a bad timeline. Now we know that Wesley doesn't know what's going to happen in the future. Now, again, the future is in our hands. It was in our hands to change before. Wesley's brain is frazzled. He doesn't, and we interrupted the timeline by splitting us up and trying to save Ilthuran. Gwyn made a bad decision. Now, in another sense that's much more real and much more physical and much more personal, the future is in our hands. So, thematically speaking, taking your own destiny into your own hands is the focal point of both of these episodes. And indeed, Gwyn makes a bad decision to save Ilthuran, although Wesley was not there properly to advise. I'm blaming Wesley on this one. But Gwyn is learning the results of bad decisions, which is important for anybody in Starfleet. We have to experience fear. We have to experience failure. If you've only failed, you're not going to know what to do. If you've only succeeded, you're not going to know what to do when you failed at a bad moment. That's very, very dangerous. Better to fail down here than fail up there, right? So thematically, it's not super hitting you over the head with it. It's thematically actually very good. It's not screaming at you with it, but it is definitely good. And the Valnicat saying, originally we heard this in season 1, and it was ominous. We are the Valnicat, there's nothing we can't overcome. Something like that. Just paraphrasing here. We hear Ilthuran say it again, but he's saying it as a message to people who would rise up against Asencia. So now is a hopeful version, right? Bad things before, good things now. We're seeing the good version of bad things again. And then at the very end, Janeway says, I know that with Starfleet United, there's nothing we can't overcome. So we take Vaunacat, nothing we can't overcome ominous, nothing we can't overcome hopeful and good, and then we expand that to Starfleet United, there's nothing we can't overcome. So we're small, and then we're getting good, and then we're growing to encompass our larger family of characters here. And turning the bad into the good and taking your destiny into your own hands, at first in a academic and nebulous idea with Wesley and time travel and stuff, and then really into the reality of now we officially do not know what's going to happen. For me, it really works. Musically, this was another deaf one. I couldn't really hear anything interesting going on for this entire 2 episodes. Maybe you heard something, maybe you had better ears than me, but I never really heard an interesting rendition of the Prodigy theme kick into the very end. That is the end of the episode Touch of Grey, when they're going home. Home being Voyager, and their family being Starfleet. Here's hoping for something a little bit more musically interesting in the last 2 episodes. Hopefully they really knock out of the park with that. That is the last 2 episodes. Hopefully they're saving something great. So all in all, visually, Solum looks awesome, as it always does. The Vaunacat look awesome. Drednok looks awesome. Prostar looks awesome. Voyager, the vehicle replicator bay makes a cool looking plane. It's par for the course usually for what you're getting in Prodigy, except we're missing a new planet or cool new aliens. That's where we're kind of missing out. So all in all, it's a lot more wins than losses. Although, like I said before, Brink feels like it's veering dangerously close to working like magic. Yes, I know that's common for Star Trek. And yes, I know technobabble can just be another form of magic. And yes, I know sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. But you shouldn't be inventing things exactly to save the problem that you're creating. It's not great writing. Great writing is when I say, as the viewer, wow, I should have thought of that. Bad writing is when the viewer, me, says, wow, why didn't they think of that? You see how we invert that? I should have thought of that versus they should have thought of that. And I didn't catch that hologram Janeway was actually a hologram doctor. I didn't catch that. I should have thought of that. Good writing. That is Brink and Touch of Grey. And for everything I just outlined here, I'm going to have to go ahead and give this section of episodes a very solid 6.5. Like I said, that's kind of like an average between these two. So you figure out what the score probably was for Brink and then what the score probably was for Touch of Grey. Again, when this is all said and done, we're getting our numeric values for each episode. Stay tuned. I'm Lieutenant Mark, and I'm going to see you next time I see you. So long.